I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Wednesday, April the 15th, brought to you in part by NationalBeefWire.com, and that's where you can go, the easiest way to find the 3014 sign-on letter. If you're watching this video through NationalBeefWire.com, as soon as you get done watching the video, just drop down to the banner that's right below the video. There's a link there that will take you to the sign-on letter where you can show your support for the 3014 movement. If you're watching this on YouTube or another website, go to NationalBeefWire.com, and then at the top, across the top, you'll see Feeder Flash. That's where you can go to watch this video every day and previous videos. But the banner that's right below today's video, it says 3014, will have a link to it that will take you to that letter. Doesn't obligate you to anything other than it does show that you support this movement. Those of you that have told me that you'd support it, if you hadn't gone on yet, it's very easy. Just give your name, the name of your ranch, your farm. If you're just an individual, that's fine. You got a livestock company, if you've got a feed store, if you got a feed lot, if you got a sale barn, we're getting lots of those. Any kind of a business or organization that you have there, you list that there, your website, and then you'll be listed on that page. And that's what we're going to be taking to the senators, the congressmen, the people with the power to get something done here. And I tell you what, we've got a lot of people that have already signed on, and there really hasn't been a good place to sign on yet. We're still waiting to get it on the U.S. Cattlemen's Association website. We should be able to get on there later, but I wanted to go down through the first 300 or so organizations or outfits that have signed on to this. I just went through there and randomly picked out a bunch from all across the country, but this is the kind of company that you'll be in whenever you sign on to this letter supporting the 3014 movement, which is mandating a limited 30% negotiated cash trade by your packer facilities, all your facilities, with a 14-day or less delivery on those, which will bring about more competition. It'll bring about a better playing field. Feedlots that haven't had a buyer come out and visit them to bid on their cattle for years are going to be seeing that. Your fed cattle auctions across the Midwest are going to see more buyers coming in there to bid on cattle in the ring to try to fulfill their 30%. It'll just save the industry, guys. Absolutely. I realize it's not perfect. I realize a lot of you want it to be more aggressive than that. You're wanting a 50%, but I don't think you believe how aggressive the 30% per facility is. It will raise the negotiated cash in the northern plains where we've already got right around 50 in Iowa and about 33% in Nebraska areas, but there are plants that don't buy near that much. They're going to be coming into the market trying to fulfill their obligation. It's going to bring about more competition, a better market for your cattle. Guys that are having trouble getting their cattle, scheduled to get on a grid deal that they really don't like anyway, are going to have a better deal. Those of you that are on a formula or on some kind of a formulated based marketing system there, it's going to help you because it's going to be a better weighted average or a high for the week or whatever you're using to get that, and it's going to trickle down. It's going to enable these yearling buyers to be able to head some of these cattle and protect themselves going into the feedlot. That's going to trickle down to your calf raisers, your backgrounders, your grazers, everybody. Cow-calf guys, I tell you what, this is what we need to get a bigger piece of the pie. And I know you guys are scrambling. I know this coronavirus deal has got you reeling, but it's brought about an opportunity for us to get something like this done. The awareness has never been better. We've never seen more Congress people and legislative leaders that are willing to get behind something and push to try to help out the farmers and ranchers in this country. And it's just a great time to do it. If you'll get on there, it's not hard. Just give your name, your organization, a couple of things like that, and click submit at the bottom, and your name goes right on with everybody else's. Here's some of the company that you might be with. No particular order. Some of these guys are my friends that I saw on there. Just want to give a shout out, but I got several on here I want to talk about. Dwayne Martin Livestock in California. Met him when I was out there doing some speaking deals. They're big operators, got several ranches out there, and run a ton of cattle. Corby Coast Feedlot in North Dakota. Good guy up there fighting a good fight, and he's a cash seller, and I want to give a shout out to him. Valentine Livestock Auction in Nebraska. They sell them higher than anywhere, guys, right there. Cattle Producers of Louisiana. My good friend Dave Foster and his followers there, I want to give a shout out to them and thank them. Rooney Angus Ranch, a seed stock ranch, both in Texas and Wisconsin. That's an up and coming outfit. That's going to be a premier seed stock Angus ranch right there, and keep your eye on them. Independent Cattlemen's Association of Texas, Greg Schaefer Ranch in California, Joplin Regional Stockyards. Top 3 as far as receipts in the nation, guys. Joplin Regional Stockyards, Jackie Moore and his boys, Bailey and Skyler, I tell you what, they run one of the most progressive auction markets in the nation with a primetime video market and everything. We appreciate their support. Mike Kovac Cattle Incorporated out of Louisiana. Met Mike on one of their tours. Great guy there. Want to give them a shout out too. Jonathan Smelser Farms in Tennessee. Young guy there that's buying cattle worth the money and sending them out here to the Panhandle and putting them on feed. Great to see a young guy that's got a bright future ahead of him, and he needs something to give him reason to stay hooked, guys. I tell you what, it takes a lot of guts to get into an industry like this when we know how everybody's reeling, even the guys that have a lot of equity, but a young guy to get in. Stockman's Livestock Exchange, Dickinson, North Dakota. Want to thank them. Rafter 9 Ranch, Slapout, Oklahoma. Appreciate them getting on. Donnie Trammell Cattle Company in New Mexico and Texas. I tell you what, he's been a good friend of mine, been around the Amarillo area and ranches out west in the New Mexico area. Known him for a long time. F&T Livestock Market, Palmyra, Missouri, under new ownership there, and they're running a good market there in extreme northeastern Missouri. Andrew Ellis Cattle Company from North Carolina. Don't know him, but I tell you what, somebody from North Carolina getting on there, must be a Feeder Flash gang member. Appreciate him. Jim Stoltz Farms used to be my neighbor up there in northwest Missouri. He's an order buyer, runs a lot of cattle, him and his sons there. He does a great job. We thank Jim Stoltz. Ellison Carter Cattle Company, big order buyers out of Santo, Texas. He's my buddy. Used to do business with my dad years ago. I tell you what, he's a straight shooter. Shada Cattle Company out of Iowa. Chuck Shada there, they feed a lot of cattle, run cattle, order buyers for some of those farmer feeders out there in the eastern Iowa and Illinois area there. Appreciate their support. Mocan Livestock Market, the Herzog family right there out of Butler, Missouri. Appreciate them. Fort Smith Stockyards, Oklahoma, right there on the Arkansas line, and we want to thank Budge and everybody there for their support. Richmond Cattle Company, Lee Richmond out of Nebraska. I tell you what, he's been instrumental in getting some of this stuff done. I tell you what, he has got a passion for this industry like no other. He's really come in there. He's got some bright ideas how to level the playing field up. He's got a lot of great ideas of things that we could do to change this live cattle contract up on the CME. He's talking to the right people. He's doing the right thing, and he's getting active with it. But we want to thank Lee and his uncle and everybody there for helping us out here. A big legendary outfit, Winter Livestock Incorporated. Brian and Mark Winter right there out of Kansas, Colorado, and Wyoming. If you're not following Winter Livestock on Facebook and social media, you need to get to doing that. They've got John Campbell out there running the Lahana operation. If you're not watching John Campbell's videos every week telling the market and the happenings in the industry every week from him, you're missing out, because it's fantastic. And then Brian Winter's doing videos there out of Dodge City, and he's got some great ideas there on how we can divvy up and spend this money through that CARES Act to help some of these struggling cattle producers. But I want to appreciate all those guys. We've got some heavy hitters going to sign on. A lot of guys haven't been able to find out where to go to do it, but we're going to keep giving support to those guys and eventually riding the outfits that we think should be on and aren't doing it. Let's look at the board. Actually, I want to talk about some other things before we do that. DV Auction is what gives me this platform. That's my employer, and I want to give them a shout out. Talk about their production sales. We're starting to get on the downhill slide of these big cattle production sales. We've had a great year despite the coronavirus. In fact, we've had a lot of sales that's canceled due to the shutdown and not being able to get crowds together. But we've also had some new sales come on, and we want to appreciate those guys, and we hope they stay with us. And I want to give you an idea of what went on last week in your cattle production sales on DV Auction online. 5,600 bids last week. 1,200 of those were lots that were sold online with DV Auction. I think I sold most of them there at that Wolf Cattle Company deal down in Fort Worth. But of those 1,200 lots sold, $4.1 million in online sales through DV Auction's online console there. We've got a production or a video catalog there for production sales. That's where guys go to shop to look at the bulls they want to buy and their replacement females. But we've got a big video catalog there. 3,100 lots, 35,000 views on that video catalog page, and 311,000 video plays to look at those different bulls as guys are going through shopping for what they want to do to improve their herd. Let's talk about some other things that's going on with DV Auction. We do a lot of commercial sales too, a lot of sale barns. We're pushing up towards 100 sale barns that broadcast their sale with us every week. We've gained a lot of new ones here over this coronavirus deal. We hated that had to happen for those guys to get on, but we're glad to have them. Clarinda, Iowa up there, my good friends John Anderson and Frank Hepker. It's helped them the last few weeks. They've been having their sales on. They've got some older order buyers out of Iowa there that are kind of trying to stay home to protect themselves. They've been able to get on there and bid on the cattle and fill their orders right through there. Interstate Stockyards in Cuba, Missouri. I tell you what, I've been around that sale a lot of times. Used to be Ralph Rutz and them, still some of his descendants and some partners there, but they've got a good sale there in southern Missouri right there. Loma, Colorado, Cattlemen's Livestock in Loma, Colorado. We appreciate those guys out there. They're under new ownership. I knew the previous guys, and they're doing a great job there at Loma. We've got Mid-State Stockyards, Lebanon, Missouri. They've never broadcasted before. We're tickled to have them on there. They're doing a great job with that sale that's had a lot of ownerships in the past, but it looks like we've got some concrete ownership in there at Lebanon. There's a lot of cow-calf producers around that part of the country, and we're sure glad to have them on. And the latest sign-up we've had, Green City Livestock Market. You heard me talk about them before. They're one of the premier auction markets in the Midwest. I mean, they sell right up there with the big markets out in the Nebraska Sandhills. They have specials usually around 4th of July and around Thanksgiving. Steve Evans, I've known him for a long time. He's been the manager there for a long time. He's got some young ownership in there, but he's showing them how to get that deal done, and we're proud to have those guys on, and that's going to raise our real-time index, guys, whenever they have those big sales. But appreciate everybody doing business with dvauction.com. Let's talk about a sale that's going to be on DV Auction here this Saturday, April the 8th, out of Visalia Livestock Market in Visalia, California. They've got a big bred heifer and young bred cow sale at 1 p.m. local time there, featuring 1,000 head of fall calving heifers and young cows, guys. That's where it's at right there on those fall calvers. So be sure and tune in, view and bid that sale this Saturday, April the 18th. You won't have to get in amongst the crowd. You can protect yourself right there and view and bid from the comfort of your own home or even on your phone, your iPad, whatever you want to do. I'm going to be on a couple of webinars, which is a new deal. I've been doing a lot of speaking engagements the last year or two around, but since we can't gather up groups together, I had a webinar for Boehringer Ingelheim on Tuesday night here, but on Wednesday we're going to be having a webinar for Brownfield Network. I tell you what, if you don't know Brownfield Network in the Midwest, they're big in Missouri. Gary Brownfield used to have a talk show on there, and I tell you what, he was an icon in the industry of ag media right there. But at 7:30 on Wednesday night, we're going to have Daryl Peel on there. You know who he is, an ag economist there, specializing in cattle, and does a great job, and everybody's read his pieces and looked at his analysis. We got Scott Brown from University of Missouri on there, and I'm going to be on there too, but don't miss that webinar, and you can get more information about that. But at 7:30, and that's from Brownfield Network. Going to be another one on Thursday. It's going to be a big webinar, guys, if there is such a thing, and I'm very, very new to it, and I'm not real comfortable with it yet. But got another one for Boehringer Ingelheim, and my buddy Jeff Shane there putting that together. But they've got a pretty influential guest on there. Brady Sidwell is on the board of directors for the Federal Reserve Bank there. He's had his fingers into everything, got tons and tons of experience, knows the industry well. Interesting to see what he has to say on there, and that'll be on Thursday night. But I want to hope you guys get on, those guys, you guys that are pretty techie, or everybody's kind of getting that way in this day and time. There's not much else to do when you shut up, but we definitely want to get you guys on there. We've got a Western Video Market on DV Auction, or you can go to WVM Cattle on Wednesday at 11 a.m. Central. It's going to be earlier than that out west, but Western Video Market, they've got a lot of good cattle on there. I think they've got about 10,000 head. They're the premier video auction on the west side of the country, guys. And don't forget Western Video Market. Get on there, and you can buy a lot of those good calves and yearlings there. And don't miss that sale. John Rogers, Ellington Peak, the whole gang out there, and their representatives are the big, well-known sale barns all across the western part of the United States. So very well represented there. I want to give a little bit of talk about this coronavirus, COVID-19, whatever you want to call it. And we've all been reeling from this. I'll tell you what, every day we hear about another packing house that's either going to be running at a reduced schedule or going to be dark for several days. The latest I've heard is National Packing Plant there in Dodge City is going to be dark the last part of this week. They're doing some cleaning, some deep cleaning there to try to ensure the safety of their workers. But you know, we've talked about it all week here about the many plants that are running down to one shift. Some of the others, many of them are going to be dark. We're going to run into some protein shortages here, guys. And that's going to keep your market topsy-turvy, and we just worry about the panic buying and any fears people have not being able to fill their protein needs going forward. But hopefully with the cleaning and everything that's going on, we'll be able to get those processing plants back up to speed quick, and they can crank out the cattle when they need to. We saw that after the fire in Holcomb, Kansas. We saw how if a plant goes down, they can crank the change speeds up and get right back up there to the harvest levels that they need to be. But my friend Brett Crosby with beefbasis.com. If you guys haven't visited beefbasis.com, it's a free site that you can go on there and do some analysis for yourself and try to figure out how best to hedge your cattle. And you may not have square loads of 800-pound steers. You might have lighter cattle. You might have smaller bunches. You might have off load lot bunches. But he's got a way you can look on there and see what you need to do to hedge your cattle. You can see the value of gain on there to kind of see how long you need to keep your cattle on feed, if you're backgrounding those cattle, or how long you need to keep them out on grass. But that's a really good website, and it's put together by Brett Crosby. Lives up there in southern or northern Wyoming, southern Montana, but he's a good guy. He and I went around and did several speaking events here earlier this year. But he put together some numbers that estimated effects of the COVID-19. And if you look at this chart right here, you can see the cow-calf producers. If you look at the market, they've lost everything that's happened. They've lost $4.4 billion so far and expected as we go forward here off the COVID-19 deal. Your stockers, your backgrounders, of course, we know how tough it's been on them because, they're expecting a robust market going in there and buying those calves, and a lot of times not even getting first cost back. But $5.5 billion been lost in the stocker backgrounder section of the industry, and your feedlots have lost about $4.7 billion. So cattle producers, commercial cattle producers lost out of this COVID-19 deal is $14.6 billion. And this is not necessarily a way to say what we need for the CARES Act bailout deal or to help give a helping hand to some of these producers. It's just showing kind of what this whole crisis has done to the industry, and it has taken a toll, guys. Now let's look at the board on Tuesday. April live cattle futures up $2.70 at $93.70. Not sure why everybody decided to get in and push the market up, but it happened nevertheless. Evidently, we were looking and we were saying that there was too much of a gap between our recent fat cattle market, which last week was $1.05, and that we've said before that was kind of a gift from your packers to kind of keep everybody happy because the heat is on them right now. With investigations going on, people are really upset. People feel like they've been gouging consumers. We feel like they've been manipulating the cattle market because the cattle market's going down while their boxed beef levels have been skyrocketing, and kind of giving a gift there, and to keep their formula contract guys happy with that 105. But they feel like we needed to close that gap a little bit, so come out Tuesday after everything was limit down on Monday, up a pretty good hunk, but $93.70 on your spot April live cattle futures. June up $2.42 at $83.80. You go out front to the further out contracts, and they were all up from $1.30 to $1.85. April feeder cattle up $137 at $116.40, and that helped a little bit because our index levels are at least that much higher. And May is up 40 cents at $114.85. You notice that May doesn't have a lot of friends right now, and you think, well, what's wrong with the May feeder cattle market? Well, we're just feeling like that the things are going to get a little bit tougher as we try to get out of this deal, especially with our packing plants running at shortened schedules there, and going to be kind of on a protein shortage there, and we think it's going to take a little bit of time to get things moving again. And your feeder cattle buyers are feeling like they're having such a hard time trying to buy any cattle that will hedge. When you look at your out front live cattle contracts way down in the 80s there, even though you guys aren't happy with what your feeder cattle are bringing, we're expecting them to drop even more whenever we get the big push of feeder cattle, because these sale barns have been running at really reduced receipts because guys were just scared to bring those cattle in, and they haven't liked the market at all. You go out to August, and it's $11.50 higher than what your May contract is on feeders, but that's a long summer in between there, and we're hoping we get a lot of recovery by then. Your fat cattle trade, not a whole lot, but it was very interesting what happened. I told you guys just now that our latest established price for fat cattle was $105, and we kind of felt like that was a gift because of the huge basis between it and your spot live cattle contract. We did have a few sales in the northern plains and then the Midwest, and they were quite a bit lower, guys. And I kind of felt like, and many of us did, that they would try to keep, your major packers would try to keep those levels up near what they had last week to try to keep everybody happy and take a little heat off themselves. But we had a regional packer come in there that needed to buy some cattle here early this week. They buy a lot of cash cattle, and the heat's not nearly as hot on them, and they wanted to get cattle bought kind of where they thought they could get them bought, and they got some bought a lot lower, with Iowa trading about 300 head at $95 live, which is not established, but if they had significant trade there, it would be $10 cheaper, but only on a small portion there, 300 head, and $152 on a dress basis. Nebraska had confirmed sales of only 100 head at 150, but I had word and it was circulating quite a bit around the circuit of more cattle, not a lot more, but more than 100 head being sold in that Nebraska area from 154 to 155. So that's interesting there. One point there that I want to stress is, even though the regional packer came in there and bought some of these cattle cheaper, the one thing that they did that I think we'll see more of going forward, which could help us, even though we're going to be backed up on these fat cattle because they can't get them killed. But the packer went in there and they wanted the biggest, heaviest cattle that they had in the lot. If they're gonna put one on their kill space, which is limited, they want to get all the bang for the buck they can get. They want to get every ounce of beef they can out of those individuals, and especially up there in that eastern Nebraska, Iowa region, they've got a lot of cattle up there pushing 1,1700 pounds. My gosh, you knock one of those and start carving him up, he's going to make a lot of meat, and that's what we really need right now, guys. Box beef cutout values, we're higher, and we're starting to see that select come back. You remember on a few visits ago, we saw the choice really take off and the select not so much, and I told you that's kind of confusing because a lot of your retailers, your supermarkets feature select beef and not so much on your food service. So you would think that the select would be really strong. Well, it's come back with a vengeance here this week, but choice cuts on Tuesday afternoon, $226.67 up 81 cents. Selects up $4.37 at $215.77. Choice select spread of just $10.90, and a pretty good movement for one day at 143 loads of cuts, grinds, and trimmings. Your slaughter is going to be disappointing. We know that. And it just is scary each day as you go and you're looking for your weekly slaughter. But every day that goes by, we keep falling further behind. But only 191,000 through Tuesday. That's less than 100,000 a day, guys. Where normally we kill 130 to 140. But 191,000, that's 25,000 less than last week and 54,000 less for the week already compared to the same week a year ago. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market. Your real-time index on DV auction late on Tuesday sitting at 117.86 based on an 800-pound steer up through your middle 12 states there. That was down $1.20 from your Monday night quotes there. But got several good quotes of feeder cattle that I'll give you. And your markets were lower for the most part, but on certain deals, especially on some stocker type cattle, they still sell pretty good. Fredonia, Kansas there, Brad Hahn and company there. Fredonia, Kansas had a good sale on these lightweight stockers right here. Must have been the kind of deal you could just run through, process, and turn out. But 60 head, 583 pound steers, $170. That's weighing pretty close to 6 at 170, guys. Rezac Livestock Commission, Denny Rezac, 1,500 head, another good sale there. I want to thank Denny. They had a mistake on their clerking there on a string of cattle that I normally would quote, and they were going to be way off. And he called into the office and gave us a heads up on that, and we really appreciate that because he knows how much we value these quotes and how much I like to give them, because he's not getting market reporting anywhere else unless he pays for it, guys. And he's not having to pay for this. But Denny Rezac Livestock Commission, St. Mary's, Kansas, 1,500 head. I looked at the report and it looked like your big feeder steers were kind of steady to $2 higher, but your middleweight feeder calves still quite a bit lower again, as much as $10 to $14. But look at these loads of steers right here, and some bigger than loads, some strings right here, but I wanted to pick out this one string in there. Look at this big bunch. 183 head of 782 pound steers in St. Mary's, Kansas brings $122. Kingsville Livestock Auction, the Anstein family there, they've got a good sale. On Tuesday they sold 2 loads averaging 863 pound steers there, $118.50 and $118.85. That's pretty impressive there. But the top quote for the day on Tuesday come out of South Dakota, Kimball Livestock Exchange, the Christensen's up there, 120 head, 933 pound steers, $122.85. And that's your feeder flash for Wednesday.